Relate Live by Zendesk. Acompanhe a cobertura no Canaltech.
A Zendesk foi fundada em 2007 em Copenhagen com o objetivo simples de fornecer soluções de atendimento ao consumidor em nuvem para os seus clientes. Depois de 2 anos, ela recebeu investimentos, se moveu para São Francisco, nos Estados Unidos, e hoje é uma empresa de bilhões de dólares com quase 70 mil clientes em 150 países. Para falar um pouco sobre a história da companhia e a importância do bom relacionamento consumidor, eu estou aqui com o Mikkel Svane, ele é CEO global da Zendesk, e vamos conversar um pouco sobre isso. Michael, thanks for coming, thanks for being here with us.
No, thanks for having me.
So I want to ask you about consumer experience, customer service, but first I want to get a little bit into Zendesk's history.
Sure.
Right? So you founded a company in a loft in Copenhagen,
Yeah.
and it's a pretty interesting history. But how did you come up with the idea for the company? It was something that was not being looked into back then, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the idea? And if you, Morten and Alexander, you always wanted to be entrepreneurs, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think both myself and my two co-founders, Morten and Alex, we all had this entrepreneurial gene or desire, and had both of us, or all three of us, had tried many different things before. I think we realized we had an opportunity to do something here. We also felt a little old, so maybe now was the time for us to, if we really wanted to make a go at it, now was the time. Two of us, Morten and myself, spent a few years in the customer service industry on the software side, and just thought there was a lot of room for innovation and for just changing kind of the landscape of the software in that industry. And it wasn't an industry that nobody really cared about customer service back then. So that was a big dilemma for us to deal with, because how do you make something sexy that nobody really cares about? But at the same time, it also turned out to be a big opportunity for us, as we could really differentiate ourselves and really be on the forefront of a revolution that we've seen in the world of customer service, customer engagement, and how businesses are building relationships with consumers for a new generation.
So you said something that I think is very interesting. You often say that Zendesk was founded as a boring startup, right? Was it something that nobody was paying attention back there? What's your tip to entrepreneurs? Do they need to be paying more attention to boring stuff?
Yeah, you know, I think, well, it's hard, sometimes it's hard to figure out what is the right boring stuff. But there is sometimes in entrepreneurial communities, there sometimes is a tendency to focus on kind of the latest fad. What is everybody like? What is everybody into right now?
What's sexy?
Exactly. And if you do that, you will often end up with a crazy amount of competition, and you will always be a follower, not a leader. So I think being original, maybe pick something boring that you can really make an impact on, where you really have an opportunity to change it for something that is mundane and gray and boring to something that is suddenly very interesting. Therein lies huge opportunity.
But people often talk a lot about you have to like what you do, you have to love what you do. Is it easy to grow fond of something that is boring in the beginning? How do you say that an entrepreneur can do that?
Yeah, no, but I think we all have to find passion in what we do. And I think that once you realize kind of the potential of providing a great customer experience, providing great customer service, then you realize kind of, then you find inspiration in that. And that's our journey. And I think for a lot of people, once they dive into something, they will find the beauty, they will find the interesting element of any business, basically.
So back to the foundation of Zendesk. As we talked, we were founded in Copenhagen.
Yeah.
After 2 years, you received some investments. You moved to San Francisco. Why did you do that? And is it important for companies that want to go global to move to San Francisco?
Well, I think that, so we bootstrapped out of Copenhagen for a few years, and Copenhagen is a very small economy. Like there's a total of 5-6 million people. It's not a very entrepreneurial community. It's almost impossible to raise money. Or back then it was completely impossible to raise money for a business. It's not really, being a startup is not really considered a real thing. So I think it was hard for us, and coming to San Francisco was just such a mind-opening kind of experience. Suddenly being an entrepreneur where you're like part of an industry, right? Like suddenly being in the tech startup that is considered a real company, suddenly being in the middle of something where you are the center of the universe, where the whole city is around people like you, where it's all about startups, it's all about building new innovative technology. It's just such a fantastic experience. And it really helped us think bigger and be bolder and more ambitious with our plans. Is it necessary? No, you can build great companies everywhere, but if you are a tech startup and have the right ambitions, there's a much higher probability of success doing it out of San Francisco versus doing it out of Copenhagen. I think you have a fantastic startup community here in Sao Paulo, a lot of great startups, a lot of great capital available too. But again, like San Francisco is something very, very special.
And you've been living in San Francisco for some time now.
Yep.
How do you see the landscape changing in San Francisco? Because I mean, you mentioned it's still a great city. You have a lot of talent, people from all over the world. You have a lot of capital, but at the same time, it's a very expensive city to live in, and you have the venture capitalists there being a little bit more careful what they put their money in. I think it's changed a little bit. Can you give your insight on that? Do you think that Silicon Valley is changing?
Well, I think first and foremost, San Francisco is a fantastic place to live. There's so many opportunities in that city. Just living, the quality of life there is fantastic. And you have so many things close by. You're close to wine country, you're close to skiing, you're close to going on the beach, you're close to Big Sur, Highway 1. All these, some of the most beautiful and interesting places in the world are right there within an hour's drive from San Francisco. So it's a very liberal city, it's a very diverse city, a lot of inspiration, a lot of very different people. It's a melting pot of people coming in from all over the world. You rarely meet people who are actually from San Francisco. People come into San Francisco to seek fortune, to seek new experiences, and it's a really inspirational city like that. San Francisco and Silicon Valley has always gone through their periods. When we came to San Francisco in 2009, the economy was tough. You know, people were out of job. Every third shop on Market Street, the part of Market Street was closed, and you know, it's just like a tough economy and very different than it is today. Since then, the economy has been booming, you know, and that have created a new set of problems. Like the employment rate has been cut in half in 5 years, and have all these new jobs and all these new people moving to the city. All this wealth created that had created a new inequality between people, and just a lot of real issues that we need to deal with. And then of course, everybody's talking about a little bit of like correction in the market right now, but you know, compared to anywhere else, it's still a very, very booming city with a great economy.
And back to, you mentioned that back when you started, Copenhagen was a very small economy, not a place for a startup. What about now? Talk about Europe a bit wider. No?
Well, I think all across Europe, you definitely see more of a startup community. There's a great startup community in Berlin. Of course, great startup community in London, but you know, even like there was a lot of companies coming out of Finland, for example, a lot of gaming companies, and even in Denmark, we actually have quite the startup community today. So it's inspiring to see a lot of the startup communities develop all over the world. China has some fantastic startup environments, and it's really, really inspiring. But again, Silicon Valley, San Francisco is something very, very
over
special.
The charts.
Yeah, but you don't have the same level of experience, capital, people, talent, just compressed in such a small place. But nevertheless, it's very inspiring to see these great startup communities happening here in Sao Paulo and all over the world.
And now back to Zendesk and what Zendesk does, a little bit away from startups. So we're seeing a change in the way that companies deal with their relation with their customers, right? You can't just sell something to the customer and be done with it. You need to have a post-sale interaction with your customer, and you have to give support and talk to this customer. How is that changing businesses?
Well, like we've really seen what have happened over the last 5-10 years is a true consumer revolution. And as I think we see it it's very obvious here in Brazil. Our business has been booming over the last couple of years, and I think it's a testament to a different behavior, a new generation of consumers that are much more empowered, that have a much larger voice, and that companies have to redefine how they think about their relationship with. Today, most new businesses are building new types of business models that are anchored in subscription-based relationships or convenience-based relationships. And for those type of relationships where you focus on the ongoing relationship, the lifetime value of your relationship with your customer rather than the individual transaction, for those type of businesses, customer service is just integral and key to not only kind of the relationship, but to the value and to driving revenue and growth. Retaining your customers, reducing churn is driving growth and revenues for a whole new generation of business today at a completely new scale. So that is very, very inspiring. And you have customers with a much larger voice today. That also means that businesses like ourselves, we are more and more focusing on giving our customers a great experience that they, on their hand, can use to go out and influence other customers. Most of our business today is still a word-of-mouth business. We give our customers a great experience and they tell other people about, you should use this great product, it's amazing. It's a very inexpensive customer acquisition model and it completely changes that dynamic of your sales and marketing efforts. So that's very inspiring. I think the last trend that we really see rising over the last couple of years, and I think you see it tremendously here in Brazil too, is kind of what we call the rise of the conscious consumer. That consumers today are much more aware of the quality of the businesses they deal with. How, and not only in terms of product and pricing, logistics, all these different things, and not only about the customer experience either, but really about how responsible is this company? Is it somebody who cares about the community? Is it somebody who cares about the environment, who cares about the next generations? And because they want to put their money where they feel they're not only investing in a company, but investing in a better future. And that is also something that companies really have to embrace and be responsive to their communities, be open and transparent, owning their problems and dealing with those things. So all these aspects are really changing the customer service dynamics, it's really changing how businesses are building relationships with customers today.
Mm-hmm. And one of the tools you are providing to try to support those changes is the satisfaction prediction tool, right? You announced it last year. It's basically a big data tool that can predict the consumer behavior, try to avoid churning, avoid bad experiences in social networking, stuff like that. How does big data, machine learning, these trends are transforming companies?
Yeah, so this is really interesting because one of the challenges we have in today's world is that when we build businesses, we can have global audiences. We can do business at massive scale. We just heard today from Easy Taxi and the operations, the worldwide operations, like the fleet of drivers, the millions of customers using their products every single day. It just sets a new level of requirements for how they manage all these customer interactions. And at that scale, it's really hard to only use kind of human common sense and intuition for when a customer is satisfied or not. So our investments in deep learning, in machine learning, has really helped us build this tool that can help our customers predict when is a conversation, when is a ticket, when is a customer interaction, when is that showing signals of going south. Basically, when is the higher probability of a bad customer satisfaction rating, and then we can help our customers pinpoint those interactions and set up workflow and processes for dealing with those things. So for businesses that operate at scale, this is very, very helpful.
So to wrap it up, we talked about big data, we talked about deep learning, we talked about consumer empowerment. What's some trends Zendesk sees for the future and in 5-10 years, and how is the company getting ready to that?
Well, I think there's a lot of like the changing relationship between customers and consumers and businesses. It's really redefining how businesses have to think about their business models today and have to think about how they act responsibly, how they focus on really retaining the lifetime value, the long-term relationship with their customers, and really change how they think about their customer acquisition models. But more and more people are focusing on how do you also build the customer engagement, the customer service experience into your tools. So like customer service is not a destination, but it's right there and it's right in your application, it's right in your services, right in your website. And those things are really dominating how you can build a new level of trust between companies and businesses, between companies and their customers, in having these tools readily available and right there at your fingertips. So this is one of the areas that we as a company invest in.
Eu conversei aqui com o Mikkel Svane, CEO global da Zendesk. Mikkel, thanks for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.